Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now.
And Governor Stitt, if you hear me good and clear. Look at the evidence. Look at the doubt that exists in this case. Look at the fact that there is so much race and racism that has played a role, not just in Julius's case, but in cases against black people in this state for decades.
Death row inmate Julius Jones is just 4 hours away from his scheduled execution. We have learned that his attorneys have filed for an emergency injunction in federal court to stay his execution. Now, Jones was convicted in the 1999 murder of Edmond businessman Paul Howe. Just over 2 weeks ago, the State Pardon and Parole Board recommended clemency for Jones, saying his punishment should be reduced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Now, that decision lies with Governor Kevin Stitt.
That's all I hope. And so I have to put my total faith in Governor Stitt.
Meanwhile, Jones's family continues to proclaim his innocence, saying he was framed for the murder and given an unfair trial.
No, I don't want to go to a lynching tomorrow. I might want to go to a sports event. Why would I want to see someone hang? We should be through with that. We're all...
If the governor does not act, Jones's execution will move forward at 4 o'clock today. News 9's Ashley Holden and our Carl Torp will be bringing us more updates from McAlester. Our live team coverage continues at 4 o'clock, so be sure to tune in and stay with us on the News 9 app. Now we want to switch gears and talk about the weather. Pike Pass Skycam Network looks to see those clear skies out there. Will it stay this way, Lace?
It was beautiful yesterday with the exception of the wind. That wind was howling. One thing you'll notice today, the winds have relaxed and our skies are staying mostly sunny, yes, throughout the day today. Strong cold front blew through yesterday. That boundary is now well to our east. High pressure is settling on in. Our winds are very light compared to what we were dealing with at this time yesterday afternoon. It's 51 degrees now. Our temperatures are still running about 10 degrees cooler than this time yesterday. We're in the upper 40s now in northern Oklahoma. You were in the 20s this morning. Lower mid 50s, some upper 50s down to the south, and we've got a north to northeast breeze at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. Now this afternoon, we're climbing back into the lower and mid 50s for highs, so we'll be below our average of 60, but we are expecting sunshine and light winds. We still have a couple pretty cold mornings coming up, a freeze expected tonight and some cool afternoons. Great viewing conditions for the lunar eclipse tonight. We'll talk about that and how it's looking for holiday travel and Thanksgiving. I'll have your 9-day in just a minute. Lisa.
All right, Lace, now we want to head out to McAlester, where Jones is scheduled to be executed. News 9's Tevis Hillis joins us live from outside of the state penitentiary. Tevis.
Lisa, I just want to set the scene. We are outside the penitentiary where they did move us back. We've been standing this morning right by the entrance. They moved us back for precautionary methods, and we have been drawing a large crowd. I want to show you the crowd. They're right now protesting and saying justice for Julius. They're all gathering together. I was able to speak to one women's supporter, and I asked, are you all hopeless right now? How are you all feeling? And she goes, we cannot lose our hope right now. We are still praying, we're still fighting, and we're still hoping Governor Kevin Stitt will hear us. So they all are right now outside. I would say there's over 50 people here right now in support of Julius Jones. I was able to speak to Julius's sister, and she says she will be inside if the execution moves forward. Now, there are crowds growing. We are still waiting to see if we hear anything from Governor Stitt, but right now, this is the feeling in McAlester. Lisa.
Tevis, thank you. We've also had an opportunity to talk with the Howe family in the past. At this time, they're just awaiting Governor Stitt's decision. That is 4 hours away from that set execution in McAlester. We will continue to follow this one and bring you the very latest from out there. Now, supporters of Julius Jones continue to rally across the state. They are urging Governor Stitt to grant clemency. Our Bob Mill Sky News 9 took us over several metro schools earlier where students walked out of class to show their support. Now, the Oklahoma Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty will also be at the governor's mansion at 3 p.m. and the NAACP Oklahoma will rally at the state capitol at 4 o'clock. Well, Oklahoma city officials are calling off tonight's Christmas tree lighting. This came from a statement from the city officials saying that this decision was made out of respect with consideration for the entire Oklahoma City community. They say the virtual holiday special will air on Friday, November 26th. Well, over the past 20 years, the State Pardon and Parole Board has recommended more than a dozen prisoners be taken off death row. More often than not, those requests are denied.
We're going to go through the process that's has a lot of precedents that other governors have followed.
Since 2001, 13 death row inmates awaiting execution have been recommended for clemency. 9 were denied, 4 were approved. And today, Governor Stitt has several options on the table. Legal experts say he could grant clemency, grant life with the possibility of parole, commute it to life with the possibility or without parole, or do nothing at all.
Yeah, the governor could call at the last minute, tomorrow, 3:59. He could call and say, stop the execution. I'm staying the execution. He could do it that late.
If the governor decides to replace Jones's death sentence with life without parole, Jones could reapply for commutation every 3 years. We'll keep you updated on his decision. Well, OSHA has suspended its enforcement of President Biden's COVID vaccine mandate. The mandate ordered businesses with more than 100 employees to require employees get vaccinated or get tested weekly. This comes after a court order put the mandate on hold earlier this month. And now to COVID here in our state. The health department reporting more than 1,000 new cases today. 431 Oklahomans are in the hospital with 145 in the ICU. 49 more people have died. And Oklahoma City Public Schools and the health department are teaming up for COVID vaccination pods for kids 5 to 11. Our Colby Thielen takes us inside those pods coming up in about 10 minutes. Also ahead, we'll clear up the confusion on who should get the COVID booster vaccine. But first, what the Biden administration is doing about rising gas prices.
We've been voted best seafood more times than all the others combined. Whether it's the crab boil and Mardi Gras bar at Crabtown, from Cajun to contemporary for 35 years at Pearl's Oyster Bar, or the prime rib, the mesquite quail, and 150 bourbons at Trappers. Always fun, fresh, and affordable.
From the Bob Mills Weather Center in Sky News 9, I'm proud to help the Oklahoma weather experts keep you safe from our state's consistently changing weather.
Did you know that 178 million Americans are missing at least one tooth?
It's true. That's why at Affordable Dentures and Implants, we only focus on tooth replacement solutions.
Whether it's a single tooth, full dentures, or dental implants, we have an experienced dentist who can create a new smile just for you.
At a price that's affordable.
Because at Affordable Dentures and Implants, we want you to
go ahead and smile.
You don't ever plan on being in a wreck. You don't plan on those kids sending the text or like, I have one more drink. And just like that, your life can change in an instant. Have a plan. Put our number in your phone. And remember, our attorney fee will never be more than what we put in your pocket. I'm Robert Yala, a different kind of lawyer.
Frosty morning, clear blue skies, friends and family by my side. It's what I need, these memories. And I like me when I'm with you, sharing the moments we do. Life's so much better with our friends.
Highland makes every holiday moment one to remember. Get new recipes, plus a chance to win free dairy for a year. Visit highlanddairy.com/holidays to enter.
Metro Jingle, take 3.
All right, man. It's your turn.
Nice try, but no.
Like, I thought we was on the same team.
Hey, man, I'm retired. Black Widows, we've got them. Roush and Rocky Ridge, yep, got that too. We've got it all. Shop where the difference is real at Metro Ford of OKC on 39th and May off I-44 and online at metrofordofokc.com.
Oklahoma Prohibition is over. Enjoy wine by the glass half price at Pearl's. Or start early at the Mardi Gras Bar with our all-day $5 drink menu with a souvenir cup at Crabtown. Or savor half-price bourbon flights from over 150 selections of Trappers. Always fun, fresh, and affordable.
Breaking news here at noon in the Julius Jones case. We just received word from Governor Kevin Stitt that he has commuted Julius Jones's sentence to life without parole. We want to head to Storm Jones in the newsroom for more now, Storm.
You're waiting to hear from the governor this afternoon, hopefully expecting a statement from him. But this is a decision that has been on the governor's desk since November 1st. That's when the Pardon and Parole Board here made that recommendation. The Pardon and Parole Board recommended life with the possibility of parole. Now the word we're getting from the governor's office is that he is elected to give death row inmate Julius Jones life without the possibility of parole. And this is obviously a case that's had international attention on it, Lisa, and as we're talking now, we are getting a statement in from Governor Kevin Stitt. Let me read it to you just as it's coming in to the newsroom. The governor says, quote, "After prayerful consideration and reviewing materials presented by all sides of this case, I've determined to commute Julius Jones' sentence to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole." Now, this is, there is precedent for this. Over the past 20 years, Oklahoma governors have been sent 13 recommendations to remove death row inmates from death row. Now, more often than not, the governors have declined those recommendations 9 times while only granting them 4. Julius Jones, now the 5th Oklahoma death row inmate to be removed from death row in the past 20 years. Lisa.
Keep it up.
Thank you for that report. You are taking a live look here to McAlester. You can see the mood there outside of the state penitentiary. We do have crews there. We'd like to head out and hear from Tevis Hillis here in just a moment. But Jones, age 41, was sentenced to death for the 1999 shooting death of Paul Howell in Edmond, Oklahoma. We have heard from the victim's family in the past saying that if this decision were to be made in the way that Governor Stitt has made this decision, that they will be fearful for their life for as long as possible. They had told us that they are already scared and that this decision is definitely not the one that they would have wanted. But you are looking at the one that Julius Jones supporters had been hoping for, had been rallying for. They are there in McAlester outside of the state penitentiary, and so is our Tevis Hillis. We want to head out for a report from her now. Tevis?
Lisa, there is not a dry eye right now. You can see people are hugging, people are crying, people have a sigh of relief right now. Everyone was screaming when it announced. One woman did stand up. Governor Stitt is granting clemency. You can just see the emotion right now. People are crying. People are hugging. I'm standing next to a child that's even crying. She looks like she's not even 12 years old. This is a moment where people really feel heard. I mean, absolutely, you can hear, "Thank you, God." You can really hear a lot of emotions right now. People are all live streaming what's happening, and it's a huddle. There is about 50 people right now. They're screaming hallelujah. There is tears. There is just about everything. I'm going to grab someone and see if we can see how they're feeling right now. 2 seconds. I'm going to see if we can grab someone to talk. JB, how are you feeling right now? There is tears in your eyes.
My brother's coming home. I feel great.
Did you think this was going to happen?
A miracle at midnight. The pastor said it. We saw that deer run across the street. That deer represented freedom. We knew he was coming when we seen that deer. Miracle at midnight.
And what would you say to Governor Stitt right now if you had a chance?
Thank you. Thank you for seeing the humanity in Julius Jones. Thank you.
I was able to speak to one woman who did tell me that she didn't want to lose hope, and today she feels the hope. She's feeling heard. You just heard from JB, and he said, "Thank you, Governor Kevin Stitt." Lisa, back to you all.
Tevis, thank you for that report. If you are just joining us here in the noon newscast, Governor Kevin Stitt spared death row inmate Julius Jones' life today and commuting his sentence to life without the possibility of parole. You could see the emotion there outside of the state penitentiary. We have full team coverage. Right now, our Ashley Holden is in McAlester. We want to head out to Ashley for the latest there. Ash?
And Lisa, we just got the news. We were actually waiting in the press room. We had just gone through the whole security clearance, and someone in the press room got an email from the governor's office. And I do want to read a portion of that email because, Lisa, you were saying that this was not the outcome that the House wanted. And there is a very important piece of information in this email from the governor's office. It says that Jones' sentence would be commuted to life without the possibility for parole on the condition that he shall never again be eligible to apply for, be considered for, or receive any additional commutation, pardon, or parole. And that was, again, what the Howell family was so afraid of, is that eventually Jones would be able to get out, would be able to apply for commutation. And I had talked to the Pardon and Parole Board over the last few days, and they told me that he would have been able to apply for commutation every 3 years. But again, in this email that we are getting from the governor's office, he has commuted Jones's sentence to life without the possibility of parole, and that is again on the condition that he would never be able to be eligible, apply for, be considered for, or receive any additional commutation, pardon, or parole. I also want to read another portion of this email, a quote from Governor Kevin Stitt. It says, after prayerful consideration and reviewing materials presented by all sides of this case, I have determined to commute Julius Jones' sentence to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. And that is the only quote that we have from the governor so far. Again, we just got this. Really, the scene inside the press room right now is we have Department of Corrections, communications staff. They were on the phone trying to get this confirmed. I said this came in an email, and we were all kind of stunned, looking around, checking our own email to see if we had gotten it. Of course, we haven't heard from the governor. I reached out to his office earlier today and was waiting for a comment. And of course, we just got this. I think we got it at about 12:08, so within the last few minutes. As I stepped outside, I could hear some of those screams that you were hearing when Tevis is out with that group. When we pulled in, very tense moments here in McAlester, but I'm sure that all of that has changed. Of course, we'll be reaching out to the governor's office to see if he'll be holding any kind of a press conference. But the scene in McAlester right now is one of joy, but also one of we're waiting to confirm this. We've got to get this confirmed, and this news just breaking. So, Lisa, we haven't reached out to the Howell family as well, and I'm sure we will be reaching out to them. But like I said, the big thing, what they were worried about, is the possibility that Julius Jones could eventually be released. According to this email, what we're getting, that is not the possibility, and he will not be eligible to get out of prison. But of course, we'll be waiting to hear more from the governor. We'll send it back to you unless you have any questions, Lisa.
Great clarification there, Ashley. Thank you for that report. We have reached out to the Howell family. We are awaiting a statement from the Howell family. In the meantime, we want to head over to Tevis Hillis, who is right in the thick of things there with the Julius Jones supporters. Tevis, what's the latest out there?
Hey, Lisa, again, it is no dry eye in the room. I mean, there are people crying. There's emotions. There's true emotions right now. People are on their knees praying, thanking God, but also thanking Governor Kevin Stitt. You were able to hear from JB, one of the main people we've been hearing from in support of Julius Jones, and he said, thank you, Governor Kevin Stitt. I do want you all to listen to what they're saying right now. Listen in.
Because the speaker's covered.
Well, just give us a few moments as they begin to speak. Here we go.
Joy cometh in the morning. I said, joy cometh in the morning. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. I have been lifting up the prayers of my friend and my brother, Julius Darius Jones. As we all have, I have been lifting up the prayers and the pleas of a praying mama. There is power. There is power in the petition. We have to say thank you to those who listen to the still, small voice and yield to the power of the Almighty. It is a good day, but this is the day that the Lord hath made. We will continue our promise to Julius that this is not a moment, but it is a movement. And we are going to continue to push for abolition. And we are going to continue to push and raise that every person's humanity must be seen. We see you. We see you. What a privilege it is to trust in my Jesus. What a privilege it is to know and stand in community with such amazing warriors. Today, we see evidence of the legacy that Julius Darius Jones has lived and part of his purpose for being put here on this earth. We say, Julius, that we love you. All of our actions that we have been doing is because of the love that he taught us, because of the love that flows through in us, because of the Creator, because we are all divine. We will continue to fight for Julius's brothers and his family and those that stand still sitting on a row that do not know. So we will only continue to speak life. For each of you all who were feeling heavy and burdened, part of that has been lifted, but it has also given us a charge that we must continue. And there is a family right now. There is a family that I know that is grieving, and they are victims, and their loss is real. And so we must speak around understanding that their lives have been turned around, and continue the prayers for them, because I know that Julius Darius Jones prayed for the Howell family. We must continue in this moment like we never have before. And while we stand in a praise and worship for this momentous moment, I ask you to deliver love and compassion and remembrance and humanity to all of those who are grieving, because God says that he literally sends comfort to the grievers. Yes, he does. And today, the best message of all is that he said, Julius, take off your grave clothes. Yeah. And he said, Julius, son, come home. Ashe.
And you just heard from the leader from Oklahoma City Black Lives Matter, a very emotional speech where she was able to say, you know, this is for the Howell family, but also for the Julius Jones family as well. So they are praying, they are thanking God right now. I'm going to send it back to you all, Lisa.
Tevis, thank you. If you are just joining us here, Governor Kevin Stitt intervening in the scheduled execution of death row inmate Julius Jones hours before that was set to happen. He has commuted Julius Jones' sentence to life without the possibility of parole. We want to go over to Dana Hurtnicki in our newsroom now for more on what this means for Julius Jones.
Yeah, Lisa, as you'll remember, the Pardon and Parole Board wanted life with the possibility of parole. Again, the governor is commuting Julius Jones' sentence to life without the possibility of parole. And in that statement he sent us just here right after noon, the governor says Article 6, Section 10 of the Oklahoma Constitution, I'm reading here right from the governor's press release, gives the governor power to grant commutations upon such conditions and with such restrictions and limitations as the governor may deem proper. Pursuant to that provision, the governor has ordered that Jones shall not be eligible to apply for or be considered for a commutation, pardon, or parole for the remainder of his life. Now, you may remember that we got word into the newsroom from sources that was one of the concerns of Governor Stitt, that the Howell family would continue to have to go through this. In 3 years, that Julius Jones could apply for commutation again, and then the Howell family would have to go through this whole process again. So that is one of the things that we had heard maybe the governor was concerned about. But right here in the governor's statement, it says that Julius Jones shall not be eligible to be considered for a commutation, pardon, or parole for the remainder of his life. And the governor says that power is given to him in the Oklahoma Constitution. So, Lisa, a little bit of insight there possibly into the governor's decision today. Like I said, we knew that the Howell family was weighing on his mind as well as he made this very difficult decision.
Dana, thank you for that report. We know that certainly Julius Jones supporters are pleased with this decision. We are awaiting a response from the Howell family as to their feelings on the governor's decision. In the meantime, we want to head out to Ashley Holden, who is just outside the state penitentiary. And Ashley, you were inside preparing for what was supposed to be a scheduled execution of Julius Jones when you received word. What was the mood like in the room there?
just hours away. We had just gone through the security checkpoint, really, which was the third security checkpoint to get in. And then at that point, we would be waiting for several hours. Media were allowed to come in from 12 to 2. And then at that point, we would have names drawn. And so people in there were preparing to possibly be a media witness to an execution. We were reading Julius Jones's last meal. Everything was moving forward as we waited to hear if the governor would have anything to say. I had actually reached out to the governor's office a few hours ago and had not heard back. I just reached out to them again to see if they had any further comment, if there was going to be press availability, and they said no, and they just referred us back to that statement. Dana read some of that. But again, the scene was very tense. I mean, we walked in, there's press cars down by where Tevis is, and we had to go through 3 security checkpoints. We were all preparing, and then someone on their email, on their laptop, got this email and said, sentence has been commuted, and we all kind of scrambled to our phones to see what was going on. The DOC communication team was inside helping us get checked in, and they were saying, we've got to confirm this. They hopped on the phone as well, and I am going to go inside and ask them if they have finally gotten that confirmed. I do want to let you know that I have spoken to the Howell family over the last few weeks, and after the last clemency hearing in front of the Pardon and Parole Board, and as we've been mentioning, this was very important to them that they wouldn't have to go through this process ever again. I have reached out to them. As Lisa said, we're waiting to hear if they have any kind of comment, but as far as the governor's press team is saying, we are not going to hear any other further comment from him today. At least that is what they are expecting. So right now, press has been going in and out of the room that we were going to be held in. People are on the phone. People are doing live shots because this just came down with hours to go. So we'll for sure be getting some more reaction and bring that to you. And hopefully we will hear from the Howell family about what they have to say about this big decision that they've been waiting for, and they have been waiting on for over 2 decades. For now, we'll send it back inside to you.
Okay, Ashleen, if you're just joining us, Julius Jones was a death row inmate set to be executed at 4 p.m. today. Here within hours, Governor Kevin Stitt commuting that sentence. If you're not familiar with Jones's case, he was 19 at the time of his arrest and has maintained his innocence since then. He was sentenced for the 1999 shooting death of Paul Howell in Edmond, Oklahoma. His case garnering national attention in recent years, including celebrities and as well as well-known athletes like Baker Mayfield. A lot of people taking to his cause and proclaiming his innocence, asking for him to walk out of jail. Just hours ago, he was looking at end of life. As you can see, the mood has been very emotional out in McAlester as they were awaiting the governor's decision. And now we are taking a look inside the state capitol. There were several protests scheduled to occur at the capitol today, awaiting Governor Stitt's action. And as you can see there, it seems to be a fairly calm, peaceful crowd. I'm certain it's probably an emotional one there as well. We want to head out to Tevis Hillis now, who is among the supporters of Julius Jones in McAlester for the latest there. Tevis.
Well, Lisa, if you're just now joining us, I want to let you on when we heard that he was granted that clemency from Governor Kevin. It was just like it sounds now. Screams, claps, tears. I'm right now standing on the outside looking at people in, and there's still just raw emotion. People are excited. People are pleased. People are crying. People are praying, thanking God that this truly happened. I'm looking at JB, one of the main supporters of Julius Jones that's been very outspoken about this, and there's raw tears on his face right now. But I do also want to tell you the other side of it. We just got someone drive by all of these supporters of Julius Jones screaming guilty. So there is a large divide, but right now those supporters are pleased with what's happening. They're thrilled with what's happening. Their raw emotions are still there, and they are still speaking. They're having speakers come and speak to the supporters of what's next, and they say what's next is to keep fighting for those people on death row. So really it is a time of emotion, but also a time that they need to keep on fighting. Now, they also did mention Paul Howell's family and how difficult this is to realize that you know, that this isn't going to happen, what they thought was right. So they are speaking about Paul Howell's family. They are asking everyone to continue to pray for their family, but they all are saying that this is God's message that Julius gets to live. Now, we did hear from Julius's mother yesterday and how she thought this was not right because it should be Julius Jones, God picking who passes away, not the state of Oklahoma. And we did hear that Governor grant that clemency. People are thrilled. You can just see that it is a packed crowd, over 50 people in McAlester today.
It is fear that causes that. It is fear that causes that.
And Tevis, if you can hear us, have you been able to see if Jones's family is there?
Well, Lisa, we are waiting. That I do know that they're inside. I was told that one of the main ladies, Cece Davis, excuse me, was going to be able to come out and speak to me. And she was with Julius's sister. So I'm hoping that they all come out. And when they do, and if they do, we'll bring it to you all live on air. Lisa.
We appreciate that, Tevis. Now we want to head over to Ashley Holden. I understand that she has an update for us. Ashley, what's the latest out there in McAlester?
I was just walking in to see if DOC had finally gotten the final okay. As of right now, they're still on their phones because, as I mentioned, we were all inside and we got an email and then they got on their phones and they say right now they're still waiting, although they're kind of taking out the snacks, the things they had laid out in the press office. I did just get in touch with my legal sources. I asked, have you ever seen anything like this done? Of course, we have seen sentences commuted to life without the possibility of parole. But what the governor has put in there, saying that he will not be eligible to apply for commutation or any further pardon, my legal sources say that they have not seen before here in the state of Oklahoma. They say that, of course, I'm sure Jones's legal team will be reviewing that, but that's what we're hearing. And my legal sources say that is something, as we've been mentioning, that was very important to the Howell family, was that they don't go through this process again. And as I've mentioned, I talked to the Pardon and Parole Board, and if the governor had not put that in there, then Jones would have been eligible to apply for commutation every 3 years. And that means if he got on the docket, that we would have gone through one of those commutation hearings that we just saw a few months ago, which that includes the victim's family and also both legal teams. So that was very important to the Howell family, that they didn't have to keep going back and being a part of those hearings, reliving all of this. Of course, this has been over 20 years that they have been going through this. And also Julius Jones's family has been going through this. So I think the point that the governor is trying to make is that hopefully this will put all of this to rest and the Howell family won't have to go through this again, but his sentence will be commuted. And again, hearing that this is the first time that this has ever been seen in the state of Oklahoma, according to my legal sources. As I said, I was just walking in there and trying to walk back, and we're right outside the press room. They do not have the final word as of my last check. They may have gotten it since I've been live, and I told them to poke their heads out and let me know when they do get the final word. But it looks like they're cleaning up, so we are anticipating that, of course, that email is it, and we will be leaving from inside where we're at near the press room. Back to you.
Ashley, thank you for that report. We are hearing a lot of activity happening, a lot of people speaking out on this issue. Twitter has been pretty popular here in the last 30 minutes. We're also getting statements. Right now we have a statement from Oklahoma City's Archbishop on Julius Jones' commutation. It took tremendous courage in the face of intense pressure for Governor Stitt to grant clemency in this case. I applaud his commitment to seeking justice while providing the condemned an opportunity for redemption. To oppose the death penalty is not to be soft on crime, rather it is to be strong on the dignity of life. So if you are just joining us here at 12:30, Governor Kevin Stitt has commuted death row inmate Julius Jones' sentence to life without the possibility of parole. He will not be eligible for commutation in the years to come, and saying that he was considering the victim's family in his decision. I know that Paul Howell's family had an opportunity to meet with Governor Stitt, express some of their concerns in the weeks leading up to this decision. Their biggest concern is that they didn't want to live in fear any longer, that they had for 22 years since their brother was murdered been living in fear. And with his decision today, he has made this to where Julius Jones will not be eligible for commutation, so he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Julius Jones is 41 years old. He was arrested at the age of 19 for the 1999 death of Paul Howe in Edmond, Oklahoma. His supporters have been rallying for years for this to come to this point, and they are certainly there in McAlester right now as you take a look. We have Tevis Hillis there on the ground with those supporters. Tevis, what's the latest now?
I don't have the phone, my cards aren't reading.
Hey, Lisa, I'm sorry I couldn't hear you because there is still a lot of emotion happening right now. People are speaking. We're hearing individual speakers share their raw emotion. Now, I want to let you all know when we heard about this around 12:10, everyone was falling to their knees. People were crying. They were falling to their knees, praying. They were thanking God, but also they were thanking Governor Kevin Stitt. I was able to speak to JB and I said, what would you say to Governor Stitt right now? He just said, thank you, because now they know that Julius Jones will get to see another day, and it's truly a miracle that they're telling me. Now, what they're also doing is they're circling around and being with each other. One of the main focuses, as we've seen in these past, is that they hold vigil, they hold prayer, and they thank God for their time, and that's what they're doing right now. They tell me that they're just thanking God for this day, and that that Julius Jones will get to see another one. I'm going to try to squeeze in and let you listen in on what they're saying right now, if you just give me a second, Lisa. There's about over 50 people here, and it's really something.
We told Julius about all the students across the state of Oklahoma that were walking out because of the injustice that continues to be perpetuated against him. And Julius said, see, we can inspire those kids and help them so that they don't go through what I've been through. They want to live better lives. That's who Julius Jones is. Just a few hours from his scheduled death and termination of his life, a state-sanctioned lynching, Julius was not thinking about himself. He was thinking about the kids of Oklahoma, because he still has a purpose and he still has possibilities that God wants him to fulfill. And so while I do have a postgraduate degree, and I do understand what a conditional executive order of life without the possibility of parole says, I still believe in a higher power. I still believe that God controls all things. And I do believe one day is going to be able to walk out of this prison, leave Oklahoma, and continue to do the work that he is doing inside the walls, but be able to amplify it even greater. To God be the glory.
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 For what he is today. Thank you.
You were just able to hear that they were able to tell Julius this morning that there were students across the metro walking out in his name. Now, Lisa, they are still speaking, but I'm going to try to get more, and when we know more, we'll bring it to you live. Lisa?
We appreciate that, Tevis. Now, supporters of Julius Jones have been rallying in several parts of the state, including the state capitol. We know the Oklahoma Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty was set to hold a rally at the governor's mansion at 3 p.m. The NAACP of Oklahoma is set to rally at the state capitol at 4 o'clock today. We know crowds have been assembling there as early as this morning. And our Capitol reporter Storm Jones is there now. We want to head out to Storm for an update. Storm?
Yeah, Lisa, a very lively crowd here at the state capitol. This 6-story building, as I was walking in the doors, you could hear the cheers from outside. Just a lot of jubilation here at the state capitol. Everyone, we've seen toddlers all the way up to folks maybe in their 60s or 70s. Also here at the state capitol, lawmakers. I'm joined by Democrat Representative Jacob Rosecrans, a Democrat from Norman. Representative, what are your thoughts on the governor's decision?
First of all, prayer works. I mean, I have had an army of people praying for clemency, for the governor to make the right decision, and prayer works. That was my first post or tweet once I found out about this, and so I'm actually in shock. And so, but again, overjoyed for the family of Julius Jones. You know, that's the person. As I got to know Madeline just these last few days, just to see the look in her eye, almost the desperation, and now I know that there's some hope.
What would you say to the governor about this decision?
Well, I mean, he's going to have a lot of people say that they wish that he would have done it a little bit sooner. How about a lot bit sooner? The fact that it's been done, I commend him on that. But again, I'm not quite sure why to wait so long, but hey, hope springs eternal, and like I said, prayers do work, so.
Representative Jacob Rosecrans from Norman, a Democrat. Thank you. Obviously, as the representative alluded to, there's a lot of uncertainty up here at the Capitol. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol has beefed up their security presence here at the Capitol. House of Representatives staffs went home at noon today in preparation for a decision from the governor. But Lisa, right now, folks here at the state Capitol celebrating the governor's decision, sparing Julius Jones' life 4 hours before he was set to be executed in McAlester. At the state Capitol, Storm Jones, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Storm, thank you for that report. You are taking a live look from McAlester, Oklahoma, just outside of the state penitentiary, where supporters of Julius Jones began assembling there today. There is a lot of emotion out there. We've been able to listen into a lot of what's being said out there. And in our newsroom, we are also working to gather what this decision means for Julius Jones and going forward. We want to head to Dana Hurtnicki now. She is live in the newsroom with a report. Dana.
Yeah, Lisa, we just got a statement from the Oklahoma Attorney General expressing his disappointment in the governor's decision. The AG saying he respects the authority of the governor to make this decision. He knows that the governor Stitt is making what he believes is the right decision. And he also appreciates the governor's condition that Mr. Jones never be released from prison. However, he says he is greatly disappointed that after 22 years, 4 appeals, including the review of 13 appellate judges, the work of the investigators, prosecutors, jurors, and the trial judge have been set aside. He goes on to say a thorough review of the evidence confirms Julius Jones's guilt in this case and that the death penalty was warranted. He says our office will continue to work for justice and the safety of all Oklahomans, including families like Paul Howell's. We recognize the pain of losing a loved one never ends, and our hearts and prayers are with the Howell family. Of course, the AG, the Oklahoma Attorney General, has fought for the execution of Julius Jones, to carry out that death sentence for Jones, and today saying that he is disappointed, but he respects Governor Stitt's decision. Lisa?
Dana, thank you for that report. And we are getting some new information from the governor's office at this hour. We are hearing that Governor Kevin Stitt made a personal phone call to Paul Howell's family ahead of releasing this information to let them know what decision he had made. He gave them enough opportunity to not make the trip there to McAlester. So he made a personal phone call to deliver the news to the Howell family before it ever made its way to us. So we are still awaiting to hear the response from the Howell family. We have been hearing a lot from supporters of Julius Jones, as there's about 50 people assembled there outside of the state penitentiary. Our Tevis Hillis is among them. We want to head out now and get an update from her. Tevis.
Lisa, you know, when we heard about Governor Kevin Stitt granting this clemency, the crowd was going wild. They were screaming, they were hugging, they were crying. But right now we're seeing a moment. They're singing Amazing Grace. I want you to listen as they all join in song. I want to let you all know this is something they've been singing and humming together since the beginning. Yesterday I was at the Capitol where they all sat in a circle and just hummed Amazing Grace. So right now they're really getting to express their thanks to God that Julius will get life without the possibility of parole, but they did say that, you know, he gets another day, and that's all that matters right now. Lisa, back to you.
Tevis, thank you. If you are just joining us, Governor Kevin Stitt halted the execution of death row inmate Julius Jones about 4 hours ahead of his scheduled execution. Now, the governor has called Paul Howell's family to deliver that news to them before it came to us. We know that he said he factored in them in their decision. He said that he will not be eligible for commutation in 3 years, where prior to him making that decision, he would have been able to go before the Pardon and Parole Board and have an opportunity to have a commutation hearing again and possibly walk a free man. Now, Julius Jones will not walk away as a free man, but his life has been spared today. And now we are hearing, who are we going to now? I'm sorry. We want to head over to Dana Hurtnicki in the newsroom now. She's got an update for us. Dana.
Yeah, Lisa, just into our newsroom right now, we have a statement from Julius Jones's attorneys. This is from his attorney, Amanda Bass. You may remember that she was one of the main speakers during his hearings in front of the Pardon and Parole Board. Bass says Governor Stitt took an important step today towards restoring public faith in the criminal justice system by ensuring that Oklahoma does not execute an innocent man. While we had hoped the governor would adopt the board's recommendation in full by commuting Julius's sentence for life with the possibility of parole in light of the overwhelming evidence of Julius's innocence, we are grateful that the governor has prevented an irreparable mistake. Now, as we watch Jones's supporters there, obviously, I think as Tevis mentioned, just a lot of relief right now that Julius Jones will not be executed in just over 3 hours. Lisa.
Dana, thank you. We are taking a live look there in McAlester outside of the state penitentiary where Tevis is saying she's counted about 50 of supporters of Julius Jones gathering there ahead of what was expected to be the end of the road for Julius Jones until about 45 minutes ago. Governor Kevin Stitt announcing that he was intervening. He was halting the execution of Julius Jones and in turn commuting his sentence to life without the possibility of parole. Now, this means Julius Jones will never walk away a free man, but he does get to live to see another day. We want to head back out now. Do we have Ashley still, or do we want to head out to Tevis Hillis? Okay, we're going to go to Storm. I'm here. We're going to go to Storm. Storm is at our state capitol. He is our Capitol reporter, and there's quite a bit of activity happening there today as well, Storm.
Yeah, Lisa, we're still getting reaction from lawmakers about this announcement from Governor Kevin Stitt. You know, in the days leading up to this decision, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle sent Governor Kevin Stitt public letters asking him to accept the Pardon and Parole Board's recommendation, both Republicans and Democrats. Right now, I'm joined by House Minority Leader Emily Virgin, representative from Norman. Leader Virgin, what's your reaction to the governor's decision?
Relief. That he made this decision and that all these people who have been fighting for days and weeks and months and years, that their work was not in vain. So just an overwhelming sense of relief.
Obviously, this wasn't always clear that this was going to be the governor's decision. The House of Representatives laid out staff today at noon. There's extra security here at the Capitol today. Tell me what that was like heading into today with this beefed up security presence, that sort of thing here at the Capitol.
Yeah, it was quite a roller coaster because, as you can imagine, those of us who were hoping that the governor would make this decision were reading into everything that we could, everything we heard. And so it was seeing that decision to close today at noon was a little upsetting. But, you know, we were told it was just a precaution, that the governor hadn't made a decision yet. And so, you know, it's unclear exactly, you know, what this timeline was about. But, you know, it's good news and we'll take it.
All right, Lisa, also a Republican representative, Kevin McDougal, has been very outspoken on the Julius Jones case and other cases of death row inmate Richard Glossip as well. We hope to be talking with him just in a little while. For now, we're at the Oklahoma State Capitol. Storm Jones, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Storm, thank you. And just about 10 minutes ago, we did receive a statement from Jones's attorney in which she says that after hearing strong evidence of innocence, Pardon and Parole Board twice recommended that Mr. Jones' sentence be commuted to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. But today, Governor Kevin Stitt has announced that he is commuting the sentence to life without the possibility of parole. And although it wasn't the outcome that the supporters of Julius Jones had wanted, they wanted him to walk away a free man. They are relieved today that his life has been spared. And you can see that crowd that is assembled there in McAlester, Oklahoma. Our Tevis Hillis has an update for us from them now.
Well, Lisa, we were able to hear them sing Amazing Grace. They sing it, they hum it, they joined in harmony because of how excited and how blessed they feel right now because Julius Jones will not be executed today. Now, right now, they are letting speakers share their thoughts, share their feelings, and we're just going through speakers right now. We have been able to hear from some of the largest supporters of Julius Jones, like JB, who has been there since the beginning. We also got to hear from the leader of Oklahoma City Black Lives Matter. They have been sharing their feelings, and you can tell right now no one's leaving this circle. It's going to be happening for a long time. It's a tight circle. There's about 50 people here celebrating together. They're all praying together, thanking God for this moment. Now, when it first happened around 12:15, 12:10, people were falling to their knees. There was tears. Right now, I'm actually watching someone embrace another person, and it's a true hug. They are hugging and they are not letting go. They're praying, they're crying together. So that's happening right now. And right now they are chanting freedom for Julius Jones, and that's what they're saying today is Julius will not be executed. We are getting another speaker right now. If I can give just a second. They are switching out speakers, but they have been able to hear people. Now, we do not know if the family will come out. They are behind security, so we're hoping at some time we will get to speak with them. And when we do, we'll bring it to you live on air. Lisa.
Tevis, thank you so much. Governor Kevin Stitt saying today, after prayerful consideration and reviewing materials presented by all sides of this case, I have determined to commute Julius Jones' sentence to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Now, we did hear a little bit more from the governor's office just a few minutes ago, saying that he made the call personally to the victim's family, Paul Howell's family, to say what his decision was in this matter. We're not expecting to hear too much more, though. Dana Hurtnicki has an update for us now from the governor's office. Dana?
Yeah, Lisa, the governor says he is not doing any interviews at this time. Again, this lengthy statement laying out the reason for his decision, and again saying that Julius Jones cannot apply for parole or pardon or commutation ever again. I think that was a big part and a key part of his decision, again, not wanting the Howell family to have to go through all of this again, and probably Julius Jones's family as well, as Ashley mentioned. Now, we also have a couple statements that are coming into our newsroom right now. One from the Archbishop from the area here. He says it took tremendous courage in the face of intense pressure for Governor Stitt to grant clemency in this case. I applaud his commitment to seeking justice while providing the condemned an opportunity for redemption. To oppose the death penalty is not to be soft on crime. Rather, it is to be strong on the dignity of life. That is from Reverend Paul Coakley with the Archbishop of Oklahoma City. The Archdiocese has been urging Governor Stitt to commute and to save Julius Jones's life. Now, on the other side of that, we are hearing from the Oklahoma Attorney General, who says that he is disappointed in the decision by the governor today, but he supports it. He says, greatly disappointed that after 22 years, 4 appeals, including the review of 13 appellate judges, the work of the investigators, prosecutors, jurors, and the trial judge, they have all been set aside, he says, with the governor's decision today. And according to the Oklahoma Attorney General, a thorough review of the evidence confirms Julius Jones's guilt in this case and that the death penalty was warranted. Again, a lot of reaction coming into our newsroom here, Lisa. We are going to continue to follow it and gather that information, and we'll bring it to you as soon as we get it.
This is certainly a developing story, as this case has garnered national attention for several years now. If you are just joining us, Julius Jones, death row inmate Julius Jones, was set to be executed at 4 p.m. today. Within hours of that happening, Governor Kevin Stitt intervened. Now, Julius Jones is 41 years old. He was 19 at the time of his arrest, and he has maintained his innocence. He was sentenced to death for the 1999 shooting death of Paul Howell in Edmond, Oklahoma. And several celebrities and athletes have taken to his cause in trying to have Julius Jones walk free. Now, he will not walk free, but he does get to live to see another day. Governor Kevin Stitt deciding today to commute Julius Jones' sentence to life without the possibility of parole, and in doing so saying he will not be eligible for commutation ever again. So Julius Jones will spend the rest of his life in prison. We are awaiting a response from Paul Howell's family. We have heard from Julius Jones's attorney. We have heard from folks out there in McAlester who are supporting Julius Jones, and they were rallying there today ahead of what was expected to be his final day. We want to head out to Tevis Hillis now for the very latest. What's the mood like now, some 50 minutes after this decision, Tevis?
Lisa, I'm telling you, the mood has not changed. It is excitement, it is joy, it is tears of happiness. People are truly feeling blessed today, is what they're saying, because they know that Julius's life is being spared. Now, earlier today, I've been here all morning, and it started out with a small crowd, but I went up to them and I said, you know, how are you feeling? Do you feel hopeless because we haven't heard from Governor Kevin Stitt yet? They said, absolutely not. We cannot lose that hope, and they didn't. And they are smiling, and there's tears of joy right now, because they know that that life is not being taken away today. Now, you're seeing a group of people. There's about 50 people right now, all gathering around. They have not moved since we've heard about that his life was being spared. They're getting closer and closer and being more and more with each other. They are speaking. There are prayers right now. There's speakers right now. But we also did get to hear them hum and sing Amazing Grace, something that they've been doing at every rally they've had for Julius Jones. And this is something that they do to really feel together, and you could just hear it, and they were swaying and humming. It's really something special for those. And, you know, I want to go back to what happened at around 12:10. People felt great, falling to their knees, prayers, tears, and there's still not a dry eye. People are smiling, yet still crying. They still say there's a long fight ahead, as they want to make sure everyone's life is not going to be put on death row, and that executions will no longer happen in Oklahoma. So they still say there is still a fight, but today they say they've won. Lisa, back to you.
Thank you, Tevis. We have been hearing a lot from Julius Jones supporters today, and now for the first time we are hearing from the victim's family, Paul Howell's family. We want to head to the newsroom where Dana Hurtnicki has a statement from the Howell family now. Dana.
Yes, Lisa, as you remember, we just reported that the governor said he called the Howell family before they headed to McAlester to let them know his decision. Now, here is what they have to say about that decision. We know Governor Stitt had a difficult decision to make. We take comfort that his decision affirms the guilt of Julius Jones and that he shall not be eligible to apply for or be considered for a commutation, pardon, or parole for the remainder of his life. We would like to thank the countless people in the Oklahoma Attorney General's office, the Oklahoma County District Attorney's office, and law enforcement agencies across the state who for 22 years, for their tireless efforts and unwavering support, Julius Jones has forever changed our lives and the lives of his family and friends. So hopefully the Howell family today getting a little bit of the closure that they have been seeking and can finally put this case behind them, maybe not in the way that they had been pushing for, but the family today saying that they appreciate the governor's decision and that they do take some peace in finding that Julius Jones will never be out of prison. Lisa?
Dana, thank you. And yes, in my many conversations with the Howell family, their biggest thing was that they just didn't want to live in fear anymore. They didn't want him to have the possibility to ever get out. That was the big thing for them. They weren't necessarily pro-death, or they just wanted to make sure that Julius Jones did not get out of jail, that he had to serve his time for the death of their loved one. If you are unfamiliar with this case, Paul Howell was gunned down in his driveway in 1999, and Julius Jones was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. He was arrested at 19, has spent his life in prison, and will continue to spend his life in prison. I am certain that the Howell family, after my discussions with them, sees some justice in that. We want to head back out to Tevis Hillis now we're going to go to Storm now for an update from the state capitol.
Hey, Lisa, we've been hearing from Democratic lawmakers here at the Capitol this afternoon. Obviously, the Capitol, really the epicenter for much of the gatherings this week. We know the governor's office received about 10,000 calls concerning Julius Jones yesterday. Now, I want to get you some reaction from a few Republicans across the state. Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell saying, I know how much time he, meaning the governor, spent reviewing this case, and I stand with him in his decision today. Senator Jessica Garvin, also a Republican, saying, in leadership, we make decisions daily that leave one side or another angry. Today, Governor Stitt did what he felt was the right thing to do based on the information he had, and I wholeheartedly and proudly stand beside that decision today. Lisa, as more and more reaction comes in from lawmakers, we'll make sure to get you that. Things are kind of starting to die down here at the state capitol. Still some cheering every once in a while, but we'll keep you updated from the Oklahoma State Capitol. Storm Jones, Oklahoma's own News 9.
We appreciate that report from the Capitol. We have full team coverage covering this big event today. As you can see, we have multiple reporters in McAlester, Oklahoma. Tevis Hillis is there outside of the state penitentiary, where it seems as though the crowd has been growing while you've been there, Tevis.
Well, Lisa, this crowd gets closer and closer together. There's about 50 people here. We're hearing from leaders. We're hearing from community members. We're hearing about their excitement of this kind of being over, because they know today that Julius's life is being spared. Right now you can hear claps and screams as there is excitement. And they are still speaking. There hasn't even been a resting time. We heard about Julius's life being spared. People were falling to the ground. People were praying. People were thanking God. Not a dry eye. There was tears coming down many people's faces. So this is the scene you're seeing right now here in McAlester of those supporters here for Julius Jones. Lisa, back to you.
Tevis, thank you. Governor Kevin Stitt halting the execution of death row inmate Julius Jones. We are going to have much more throughout the day. Stay with News 9.